Okay, in this video, we're going to add our first investment transaction. Now, this would live in the transactions module. So, this is basically whatever the funds that you have invested, how much, when, which companies. And it's not just investment, but it also covers any distribution. So, if you sell an asset, get money back, or if you pay a dividend out of a company that goes back to shareholders, anything to do with distributions goes in here as well. And we also do have the functionality to have expenses if you want that level of detail as well, like fund level expenses, management fees, things like that. But to keep it simple, you probably just want to track investments and distributions and keep it all at a gross level. So similar to all of the other modules, basically two options. We can add a transaction manually. So let's say we've just made an investment out of Fund One into a portfolio company. Invested $100,000. This is where you do it. Or alternatively, what we can do is we can do a bulk import via Excel. Perfectly fine to do. And of course, anything you can always export to Excel as well. So let's just do a simple add a single transaction. So I'm going to go new transaction type. I'm going to choose investment type because I'm investing $1 million from Fund One into NVIDIA, for example. So I'm going to choose investment, but it could be distribution or expenses. And you'll notice that it changes the form and the fields depending on which one you choose. So I'm going to go investment. I'm going to go equity investment from Fund One. And this is how you can take into account like cross-fund transactions. If you've got multiple funds investing in the same company, this is how you do it. You just change your fund in here, but you keep the company the same. Date, it pre-fills to the end of last quarter, but this can be any date you want. We do it in day, month, year. So as long as you type it in that or choose from the calendar, and then amount. So you can just type it in. You don't need to worry about positive or negative. By taking into account that it's an investment or a distribution, we know already which way it goes. So all you have to do is just put in the amount. So I'm going to go 1 million. And then currency, we do take into account multi-currency. USD, that's fine. And then we've got some optional details. You don't need to fill these in. This is just another level of detail that we can add to the transaction so that later when you add it in, you can track it. But we don't need it for our calculations of returns and invested capital, things like that. So it could be, for example, pre or post money if it's a primary injection. So maybe we want to do pre-money val is that, post money is this. Share class, we'll go Series A shares, even number of shares. So let's say it's 100,000 shares at $10 per share. Voting rights, you can put whatever you want in here. It's optional. Okay, I'm going to save this now. So now we can see that the transaction has been added. So we've got the date, the amount, the company, the fund that's investing, etc. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back to the dashboard now. Actually, I'm going to skip ahead so we can just see what it looks like in our true dashboard. So you can see now we've added our company, we've got our invested capital, we've got our unrealized valuation of 1 million, which because we haven't adjusted the calculation for val yet, which is in the valuations module. And we can also see we've got committed capital of 100 million, which we knew when we set up our fund. We've got 1 million invested in NVIDIA. We've got uncalled 99 mil. And we haven't adjusted any of our returns. So this all looks good. And we can also come back, we can click on the transaction, we can see additional information about it. And if you want to import the transactions, you can go back here, download the Excel, fill it in, drag and drop it there. Now, when you're adding other types of transactions, we've also got this investment type here. So I didn't mention these, but depending on what you're investing in, whether it's a convertible note or a loan or preference share, etc., these impact the optional details that show up down here. So, for example, for convertible note, slightly different details to what you track if it was just equity. So, it could be interest rate, discount rate, conversion cap, etc. Whereas for loan, it could be things like interest rate, repayment terms, etc. So, just a cool little thing. Again, doesn't change anything in the app in terms of invested capital or IRR, etc. but it just does mean you can track additional information that's more tailored to what you're actually doing. So now if we go back to our portfolio companies, you can see we've got our invested capital in here. I'll click on the company now. We can see in transactions, I can see the invested capital, the date, any information I can click on it and see it again. So yeah, that's how it all flows through. So I think what we'll talk about in the next module is valuations. Just the one thing I do want to say is what we've inputted as the invested capital will now become our default valuation, which makes sense. You put in $1 million, it's worth $1 million. So I think, yeah, the next step is we'll adjust our valuations, but we'll cover that in the next video.